Recently, I had an experience with credit card fraud that caused so much unnecessary stress and anxiety. I spent hours on the phone and in chats with my credit card company. I had to get two different cards before the fraud stopped, and I was so worried about what was going to happen to my money in my bank account. And I sometimes have the fear that it's going to happen again, right? And that's why I'm so excited to introduce You Are the Healer's newest sponsor, Aura, an app for protecting online data and personal information. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access things like my social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Protecting yourself and your personal information is a form of self-care. I swear. Go to my sponsor, aura.com/healer to get a 14-day free trial and have peace of mind knowing your information is safe. Again, that's aura, aura.com/healer for your 2-week free trial.
You Are the Healer is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy is mandatory because there's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help. I think every person who walks this earth needs therapy, honestly. I'm stoked to be connected with BetterHelp to offer affordable and accessible therapy resources. The link is in my show notes, and you can also go to betterhelp.com/healer. That's better, HELP.com/healer. Now let's get into this episode.
Hi, besties. Before we dive into the episode, I just want to provide a quick disclaimer. You Are the Healer is here for empowerment, storytelling, and those aha moments, but it is not a substitute for therapy, medical advice, or professional help. I'm sharing my experiences, education, and opinions to support you, not to diagnose you. Everything you hear on the show is for informational and educational purposes only. You are responsible for your own choices, healing journey, and how you apply what resonates. If you need deeper support, please reach out to a qualified professional that can support you on your healing journey. All right, disclaimers done. Let's dive into this episode. Welcome back to You Are the Healer. This is another episode of our season of The Borrowed Mind, and I'm so fucking stoked to have Kela Rose, the host of Skinny Dipping, the podcast. And honestly, I think of you as this like creative Renaissance woman. Like you do so much more than just your podcast. So I'm so excited to have you on and just chat about literally whatever comes up.
That is truly like the greatest compliment ever, because when I look at women that I admire, I see them as Renaissance women, like these passionate, multifaceted women. So for you to see me in that way, I'm like, wait, no, I'm going to cry. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I just feel like you're always doing something like not necessarily random, but like you have so many like activities and hobbies and like you're always doing something.
Yeah. I definitely just love to do so many different things because I just am a curious girl, and I just feel like I have to feel fulfilled. And it's the same with my business. Like I feel like I have to do a bunch of things to truly feel fulfillment. If I was just doing one thing, I think I would like put too much pressure on that one thing and it would become like overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard this saying before of like life is like a playground or life is kind of like an experiment. Like you have to try all these different things and like especially when it comes to business, it's like you do a little bit of this, you see if you like it, you do a little bit of this, and then it's like you have all that information and you're not wondering what if about anything because you've tried it.
Exactly. No, totally. I want to try it all. I think I've always been like that. Like ever since I was a kid, I was like, I just want to see the entire world and I want to try everything. And the crazy thing is like I'm actually like so anxious and I get so scared. But I definitely just feel like that is part of my practice of life is like having anxiety, but like still just going after all these things that totally activate my anxiety. But I'm like, here we go. Like, we're going to do it anyway. And just never letting that hold me back, I feel like is like a big karmic theme in my life. So yeah, I love that. That came up right away.
I know. Yeah. Well, I'm curious what helps you when you are scared or in fear about something you've never done or just literally anything that makes you anxious, like hanging out with like friends sometimes can make you feel anxious. What helps you like navigate that and do it anyways?
I literally just tell myself like, when you wake up in the morning, it'll be over tomorrow. Like I just like literally like talk myself into it. And I think it's like reasoning with myself and having that like inner conversation with all my different parts, like the part that is scared, but also the part that is brave, and the inner child and the inner parent, and kind of just letting all those parts chat with each other. And I just let it know like, when you wake up in the morning, that hard thing that you were scared to do, it'll be over and you'll be so happy you did it. And I just kind of try to encourage myself in that way, I guess. Nothing so complicated. I think really inner conversation dialogue is literally everything, and the way that we speak to ourselves. And then also, I feel like for me, somatic practices and movement really get me out of my mind and get me into my body. So that would be kind of the two parts that I work with when I'm like moving through anxiety. Like, for example, when I went to Bali, I was hosting a retreat in Bali, first time hosting something like abroad, first time co-hosting with somebody else and like not having total control over everything, like first time like honestly going to Indonesia by myself. I had been before, but I hadn't like fully gone by myself, let alone like be a leader in that space. So I just feel like it was back in October. I was so, like, this is so big. Like, this is such a big leap. Like, I still feel, even though I'm 26, like, I still feel my like inner 17-year-old traveling like the world for the first time sometimes. And yeah, I think that in those moments, like for example, right before Bali, like I just keep telling myself, like, you're going to be so grateful you did this. And I like allow that to be the motivation. And I try to focus on like how I'm going to feel afterwards, after I conquer that fear, and how I felt in the past when I have moved through something. And I focus on that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're thinking of the situation, you can look back and be like, I did that. Like I was scared. I was really fucking scared, but like I did that. And how awesome was that experience, right? And then I loved the last part of what you said is like looking at your past experiences and thinking of times when you've overcome something or when you've been scared and did something anyways. Like that is a great thing, because I think comparison can be this trap that you get caught up in. But if you're comparing yourself to your past self or to your future self, like that's the gold right there. Focusing on
Totally.
your past experiences,
Exactly. And creating that proof for the mind that says, okay, now I have the proof that shows I have the identity and belief that when I go for things, it pays off. It feels good. It works out in my favor. And I guess for people who haven't really taken many leaps of faith, those first one or two can feel particularly difficult because you don't have that past proof. And I think that's why looking to people that inspire you, whether that is even like past historical figures or like, I don't know, autobiographies, or even just like creators who genuinely have done something similar, and listening to other people's stories, that can also generate proof in the brain to create the self-belief and self-identity. And I just urge people, if they haven't really gone for those first like one or two things that kind of get the momentum going to create that proof that it feels good to go for what you want, to just like really push yourself to go for those things, because it does get easier and easier, because like over time you then do develop that proof that it's like even if this is something that is out of my comfort zone, it's something I'm going to be so grateful I did. And I rather, it's like that TikTok trend that's like, I rather fill my life with like what ifs than, or like I did this than like,
I
what
can't
if I
believe I did
didn't?
this. Yeah.
I can't believe
I did
this.
that versus what if I,
What if I did that? Yeah, I love that trend, because I feel like that's my literal goal in life, is to fill my life with like, I can't believe I fucking did that.
Yeah.
And I feel that from you. Yeah. Ever since PodCamp, I was like, I do feel that from you.
Yeah. My like number one motivator in life is I do not want to have regrets. And I have so many ideas, just like you. I'm like, I want to try everything. Like I have so many interests, and it's like, I would rather be like, oh, I did that thing and it's not for me, and be like, oh man, I wish I had the courage to try. Like I'm at least gonna try. And there's so much to be learned, even if like it's not a success. Like if you gained experience, I think that is so worthwhile.
Totally. And what I notice is that people that just think about an idea and they keep thinking about it, and they're like, I want to do this thing. I want to create this business. I want to create this product. I want to share my voice or share my story in that way. And they don't. It's like they're constantly harboring on this feeling of, I want to do this. And actually, like they've shown in the brain, like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but that talking about the things that we want to do actually like trick the brain into having certain dopamine spikes that kind of make us feel like we're actually being in that productive mode, but we're not. We're just literally thinking about doing it. So people that constantly talk about what they're going to do but never do it, it makes sense because they're feeling fulfilled through the productivity dopamine hits that they're already getting, and they're not needing to like necessarily go for it to get that like high and excitement and accomplishment feeling, you know?
Okay, yeah, interesting. That gives me a lot of compassion for people that are stuck in that loop of like, I want to do it, but I won't, basically. And so I think if you're in that spot, what can be helpful, kind of like what you shared, is looking at other people who have done the thing that you want to do. Like, for
Mhm.
whatever reason, I know you watch Heated Rivalry.
Yes,
Connor's
girl.
story,
You
bro.
see me in all liking all the
Yeah.
recaps.
No, okay, but like such an inspiration for me is like Connor's story, right? He's so talented and good looking
I
and a
literally
million
talked
things,
about
but
him in a pod like a couple
y-
weeks ago too.
yeah, but it's like looking at people, and it's so easy to think that someone just does it all, they have no fear, they just got lucky with their success. But most people who are creative and take chances on themselves, like they try and try and try again. And something that I've been
Mhm.
thinking about a lot recently is, I think I was listening to a TED talk that said you have to take 10 shots at a dream before one of them lands, basically, like on
That's so
average.
true.
Like you
That's so
have to
true.
have the grit to just keep trying and reach out to this person and email this and shoot your shot here, and like one of them will
Mhm.
work, and then the ball gets rolling, and then who knows what's going to happen in life. But like you have to just be willing to take the risks and take the shots.
Literally, like my friend is trying to leave her job right now, and I was telling her like if I was in your position, I wouldn't be like applying for one job and waiting and like seeing if that one
Mhm.
works, because then you're still in your shitty job that you hate 5 weeks later, and now you're starting
Mhm.
from the beginning. It's like apply to a bunch of things that you want to do, but you don't even feel fully qualified for. Like go for it, like literally
Mhm.
shoot among the stars and hopefully you'll land on the moon. I know that's like the
Mhm.
opposite of the saying, but I feel like that's how it feels in this moment. And I do believe that like sometimes you just have to shoot multiple shots, like go
Mhm.
for multiple things at once, like, and yeah, go for a lot of things because you don't know which one is gonna like actually fully hit.
Yeah. And I really want to talk about the thread that you've been talking about on your show recently of the art of audacity, because I think that
Mhm.
that fits along with this, is like having the audacity to be like, I'm just going to try, and I know that I'm deeply underqualified, but like why not
Mhm.
me? That's my favorite thing to say, is like why not me? Like is somebody else going to be better
Literally.
at it? Like why not me, you know?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, if we don't have audacity, like, we're gonna lose the opportunity to somebody who is more audacious but less talented than us in some capacity,
Mhm.
and that motivates me. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, that fear, like, I'm like s imagine when you see somebody and you're like for example, as an interviewer myself, I
Mhm.
watch people interviewing these celebrities. They get the chance to talk with some of the
Yep.
greatest artists of this current time. And then all of a sudden they ask the dumbest fucking question. Or right now it's going viral with the Olympic medalist girl where I don't know if you saw that video where the white male interviewer asked her
Mm.
like he was like, "Do you feel like this is like you won two gold or two silvers, or did you feel like you lost two golds?" And she was like, "Actually, I'm one of them." She's like, "I'm the most decorated female skier like in the history of histories." And she just laughed in his face. And I see that and it makes me so upset because I'm like, you're getting the opportunity to chat with these incredible world class artists or athletes, and you're asking them the dumbest fucking questions in the entire world. You're not asking them about their craft, about their process, about their passion. Like, you have this amazing opportunity to really pick the brains of brilliant people and get amazing value for the audience. And instead, you're asking them that like it's just so
Right.
embarrassing.
It's
and
like a
and that's why I'm
sneak
like I need
diss.
to be audacious or else like that person gets the opportunity and I don't, and they suck at their
Mhm.
job. And that is
Mhm.
frustrating. So that's just like an example, but I definitely think it's motivating to be like, well, I'm gonna go for it, like.
Mhm.
But you know what, people sometimes like to be in victim mode and be like, "Ah, I could do that better than them," but it's like, but you didn't and they did, like,
Mic drop.
and mic drop, like, it's like
Yeah.
people are like they like to sit back, not take action, like,
Mhm.
and that's not people like you and me or a lot of people
Mhm.
listening to this podcast pouring into themselves. That's
Mhm.
like other people, but it's like
Mhm.
they like it. They like to sit back and be like, I could do that if I wanted to, but
Mm-hmm.
they're just
Yeah.
not willing to, because it's easier for people to not go for it, because then you don't
Yeah.
have to be scared of failing. And that's why within me, I'm like, I never want to be that person. I want to never be that resentful person. I want to be the person that goes after it and says, like, I did that. And also, failure doesn't scare me. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah, literally. No, okay, I want to go back to what you said about victim mentality and victim mindset, because that is so real. And it's interesting that you're like, oh, people like us, we don't have that, because I fight the urge all the time. Like
To be like, I
woe
could do
is
that.
me. No,
Oh,
but like
yeah.
play the
Oh, yeah.
victim. It's so
Yeah.
tempting and it's so comfortable
Of
sometimes.
course.
Something that I've learned about spending time in victim mode is like, I like to hang out there sometimes because it's so comfortable, and you don't have to take any responsibility or ownership over your actions or where you're at in life. So like following this example, if your career or your passions aren't where you want them to be, if you're in victim mode, you're like, oh, well, I'm not responsible for where I am. So like, it's not my fault that I'm not there yet. And that, while it can be comfortable,
Totally.
it's so painful to live there. And so I constantly fight the urge to want to like give up all accountability, being like, oh, the world is the problem or this other person is to blame. And then it's like, wait, actually, how is that mindset serving me? Because it's not. And then I like put on my big girl pants and I'm like, let's actually do the thing. But victim mentality, I mean, especially for a lot of women, is a comfortable place to be. And it's like choosing to break out of that and take accountability and ownership of your life is brave and hard and so worth it.
Yeah, I so agree. And I've, all of us like encounter victim mentality within our own lives and like how it affects us. And I don't know, I feel like when I was in my early 20s in therapy, like constantly, like I was really being called out on my victim mode, to the point where now like I can be in it for like a day, but then I'm out of it the next day. And for me, that is like a measure of success, like not necessarily not being in victim mode ever, because it is such a part of being human, but it's also like the time of bounce back, the time of recovery, the time that we step back into our power, call back our power. That time shortening, like for me, has been like such a success. And I think it really just comes from the practice of recognizing like, oh shit, I'm in victim mode right now. And then just being like, I guess it's so interesting because I do go back to the proof, like what we were talking about before.
Exactly.
Like I think about the times that I felt so victimized, maybe in my relationship with my partner. And I'm like, he's not doing this or that or doing this or that. And I'm like, wait, like everything is relationship. Everything is relational. The moment that I shift, everything around me shifts. And when I realized that, like, and it created proof around that concept, like now I'm able to be like, okay, I'm in victim mode. How long do I want to be in this? Can I just like veg out for a second and be like, I'm done for the day? Can I call it all off? But then the next day being like, okay, like we're back. What can I do to, pour into myself and energize myself? And I've even seen like in my relationship, like the moment I change, like all of a sudden, like he's also being a different version of himself. Or at work, like if I feel like there's some tension going on at work with like a coworker, I'm like, oh, like the moment I change, they actually change. The moment I change the way that I'm interacting with them, they change. Or even if my relationship to business or my finances or money, if I'm acting a certain way towards my finances, that's a relationship. Like it's going to react to how I'm acting because it's relational. And the moment that I change, so does my finances. Like I've seen the proof throughout all these different relational aspects of my life. And I'm like, it feels better to step into your power and realize that everything I do and feel affects the world around me. And I've seen it in the simplest ways, how everything goes wrong the minute I'm hungry. And I've seen it in the most like complicated ways in like big moments of like my relationship or relationships with my family or friends. And yeah, it's just so interesting to notice and see, because it is a part of life, victim mode and getting out of it. And yeah, you get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I loved what you're saying. Everything is relational, because as you're saying that, what I'm thinking of is like, also everything is a mirror.
And
Mm.
exactly what you said, your relationship to money, to business, to your romantic partner, to your friends, your family, like it is all literally just like putting a mirror up to yourself. And like I think about this a lot because like I'm a twin, okay? So I have like a copy paste mirror. Like we are identical
Okay.
and
Oh, identical.
yeah. Yeah. And she triggers me like no one I've ever met in my entire life. And every time I'm like, oh, she's doing this thing that annoys me, I'm like, oh, I have that thing and I do that thing too. And I'm like, damn it. But it's interesting because it's such a like relationships are such a like a shortcut to seeing yourself and healing because like if you're not around people, if you're not in these deep connections, then you're like unaware of a lot of your own stuff because you're not projecting it onto other people and then like learning about it, if that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, we have to face it. If you spot it, you got it.
I like that. If you spot it, you got it. Yeah. And also thinking
Yeah.
about like your relationship to literally anything, like your relationship to yourself sets the standard
Mm.
for any of that. And so that's so much of why like my message behind this podcast is like you are the healer and doing your own inner work and
Mm.
looking at yourself because the more that you do that, the more that you pour into yourself, like everything else gets better. Literally every relationship
Mm.
in your life gets better when the relationship with yourself gets better.
I love that. And it's so crazy because, I've been on this journey of connecting to myself, which I feel like is the greatest like spiritual experience because I didn't grow up like spiritual or religious or anything, but like by knowing myself, like I was like, wow, like I feel so connected to something greater than myself by connecting to myself. And it's funny because like I'm 26 now and I started the journey in my early 20s and it was really intense in the beginning like when I was around like 19, 20. And even now at 26, like my partner just left today for 4 weeks. I was telling you on the phone and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like so deep in my like codependency because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like me and my partner have been spending so much time together since like the beginning of this year, like nonstop. Like we were traveling
Mm-hmm.
together. And then my friend came last week. So it was like my best friend of 10 years, my boyfriend, me. Like we're just having so much fun. I'm feeling like,
Mm-hmm.
so connected to them, but not connected to myself. And I feel like a big reason why I'm feeling really sensitive today is like, of course, I'm going to miss him. But a part of me like still feels scared to be by myself, to be alone, to face what I have to face when I do connect to myself. And I feel like I go through periods of going out in the world and then coming back to my hermit mode. And I do that a lot in my journey. And I feel like I've been in a very extroverted journey. And I just feel like the next couple weeks before my 27th birthday, like like coming up in March, I'm just like, wow, like I feel like I'm forced to be alone right now, but it's crazy because I like even after all this work and connecting to myself and like knowing myself so deeply, I can still come to this place of like, oh God, but I'm still scared to like sit with it and sit with myself and like, but then also missing myself. So it's interesting. I'm really excited to see what happens in the next couple weeks. But I'm just saying that as like a message to anyone who sees this that it's just so nonlinear. Like sometimes I've just
Literally.
felt so connected to myself, so connected to God, so connected to my
Mm-hmm.
spirituality. And other times I'm like, I need to numb, I need to escape, I need
Yep.
to avoid, I need to distract. And it's like coming out of that can be so scary. But I think it's just coming back to being like, okay, I've done this before.
Yeah.
And it
I
does
think a
feel good
lot.
once you're in it. Like it feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I think a lot of like the upward spiral, like if you think of
Mm.
visually like a spiral, you are having the same trigger, but you're learning more each time you go up. So like you come back around to the same, I
Yeah.
don't want to face myself or like I don't want to be away from my partner or things like that.
Mm.
And then it's like, wait, I've been here before. Frustrating. Also, I've been here before. I know what to do. Now I know a
Yeah.
little bit more than last time. So like it's like this oscillating cycle of like I don't want to do this. I don't want to be triggered again
Mm.
and being like I've been here, I know what to do. And it's like the nuances, honestly, I'm such a romantic that I'm like I find it beautiful even though it's like really
Mhm.
hard. I'm like it's
I love
so
that.
beautiful, like even if things are really hard and like it's
Mm.
emotionally difficult, I think that it's so like awesome that we are able to have this experience. Like I so
Mm.
often
I
think
so
about like
agree.
emotions, like I'm so deeply sensitive that sometimes I'm like I'm plagued by this. Like this is a disease. And then other times I'm like this is a straight superpower. Like this is I
Mm.
literally have one more like sense, a heightened sense than everybody else. And like what a gift.
Mm.
And it's like it's all about your perspective in seeing
that part of you, you know?
I love that so much. No, I needed to hear that. Thank you. And like, I do think returning to it again and again is so beautiful. And I love that you are like looking through like the poet lens. I feel like I look through like the humor lens of like,
Yeah.
this is hilarious. We're back here
Yeah.
again, guys. And like, humor is a way that I interact with the world. And I just feel like, yeah, I'm coming back to things over and over again with, because there's like, I don't know, certain thematic triggers in our life that do come up, and it's usually like, as a lot of us know, like rooted in our upbringing and our relationship with our primary caregivers, and like just anyway, that's like a whole other thing. But it is interesting that we return to it again and again, and I just really am in the vibe of finding the humor in it all.
Totally.
And being
it makes
like
it so much,
the cosmic
so much
joke.
easier.
The
no,
cosmic
literally.
joke. Like,
there's some situations. There's some situations that happen in my life, and I'm like, the universe is like literally pulling a prank on me. I'm like, she is really funny. Like, she's got jokes.
Like,
and I appreciate
the mirror
it. Like,
is
I
loud.
really do. Yeah. Okay, wait. I am so curious, what started your healing journey? Because I guess I was under the impression that you have been like spiritual, raised in a spiritual family and all of this stuff. And I am realizing that I got that assumption wrong. So what started
I love that
your healing journey? Yeah.
No, I love that. I feel like I have so many friends because I grew up in Maui whose like parents are so like hippie and spiritual, and like I always look at that. I'm like, oh, that's so like fun. But yeah, I did not grow up in any like organized religion or anything, but also not atheist. It just wasn't like talked about, like spirituality, spiritual connection. Like my mom grew up very like Christian in England, and my dad grew up like very Jewish in California. And then when they had me, they just like they're both just like disconnected from their own practices that they grew up in. So we just didn't do anything. And then they weren't really spiritual, I would say, like way more practical, but not necessarily like atheist. So I feel like I had an interesting upbringing where I was kind of this like blank slate. And I think a lot of like my anxiety actually as a child like came from a lack of like trust and faith. And that's something that has really like allowed me to have trust and faith in myself, but also something greater over the years. And when I was about like 19, 20, I was just like struggling with like anger and anxiety and just like my emotional regulation. And I was like, I need to go to therapy. God damn. So I went to therapy, but I ended up going more to a like somatic healer therapist who we would do 45 minutes of like talking, like talk therapy using different techniques. She was trained in like EMDR, little things of like just like nonviolent communication. Like we would just like dive into like the chats in the first 45 minutes. And then the second 45 minutes, she would put us on the table and we would kind of dive into the subconscious, like drop into the theta state in the brain by slowing down. She would literally like do crazy like body work on me, and we would talk while I was on the table. And it was crazy work, like psychedelic crazy work. And the first book I read that she recommended me was Untethered Soul. And Untethered Soul really like taught me that I am more than just like this ego, this identity that I've created within the human world. Like I have this entire like spirit and soul that is seeing and perceiving what is going on and observing the ego, and feeling that difference in my body through the Untethered Soul made me kind of have my spiritual awakening, and having her as a mentor. And then I got into astrology because like the first thing she did was like read our astrology when we went to therapy. Like
that is
she
so
wasn't
dope.
a traditional therapist, but she was
I love
like,
that was your first therapist. Like what?
I don't think I could go to like a fully traditional therapist.
No,
like
it's
I've been
weird.
doing like IFS, but I think you know, for me, I was always against therapy because of the labels and the medication, not for anybody else, like no judgment for what anybody else decides to do with their body and what works for their mental health. I really, no judgment, just literally for me and what I need. I didn't want to be diagnosed. I don't think that helps my brain. I think I'm a little like obsessive compulsive disorder for sure, where like if somebody tells me something, I'm going to think about that all the time. So I'm like, I don't need you to tell me how I feel. I know who I am. And I just really wanted to work with like my triggers and what the world was trying to show me as a mirror to move through it and heal. And that's really what we focused on in therapy for like 5 years, like so intense. And then, yeah, and then I like took a break and she moved off island. I love her so much, but that kind of got me into my spiritual journey, and that was when I was around 2021.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think it's so cool that like you started in that way with like somatics and like tapping in. Cause I mean, I've been going to therapy for like 7 years and I just now got a therapist that, like has a table and we do body work and all of that stuff. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because I think me and my friends have this joke right now where like everything comes back to capitalism. But like,
no, it's so real. And the patriarchy.
yeah, no, it's like
they're ruining everything for everyone.
It's dissolving. It's terrible. But I'm just thinking about how like our bodies have this like intuitive knowing. And whether it's from this lifetime, past lifetimes, whatever, like tapping into that, you have so much wisdom, so much to be learned, healed, like transformed, everything. And I'm just thinking about like a cookie cutter therapist office where you're just talking about things. They're giving you a diagnosis, they're giving you medication. It's like, that is not, we're not tapping into our like inherent wisdom. But it's so cool that that was your first experience with therapy, was like using your body, because it's such a helpful tool when it comes to everything.
Yeah. And actually it's so full circle because now I am studying and doing a course and becoming a somatic practitioner to basically walk people through processes by dropping into their body. And I am super in the beginning of the journey for sure. I'm only on level 1 and I'm like only a couple weeks in, but I really do feel like it is the future of healing. And, you know, in the somatic therapy course that I'm taking, it talks about how we have different ways of perceiving our senses and how we can use that as information for the world around us. And what I love to say is like, our thoughts and feelings aren't always like stabilized truth because they're affected by so many external environments as well as our internal environments, our hormones, our levels of all our different chemicals in our body. Like it's all affecting like our perspective on the world. And it's so important to be able to feel into the body and have, in somatic therapy, we call it felt sense. And knowing there's different places in the body that we feel, whether it's like the gut or whether it's the mind or whether it's existing kind of here or, it's just this knowing. Sometimes you just have this clear knowing about how you feel and what you need. And that doesn't always make sense in traditional therapy. They're like, but we need to know what's going on. And the truth is like, there is this wander aspect with humans and our bodies where like, I think we, discredit ourselves in so many ways to like how brilliant our bodies are and how they have the ability to tell us so many things without it always needing words. So I'm really into the somatics right now because of that, because it's like, we don't always need words. Like, honestly, sometimes what we need is to be able to really get to know our body and regulate our system so that we can exist in the world and have a greater like capacity to handle the challenges of the world through having a more regulated body and a relationship with our body.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many ways that like I want to go from here. I'm like, okay, let me just go with what's off the dome. So I think a lot about like people that over intellectualize their emotions, and a lot of people in my orbit are all very self-aware because that's like a requirement to be around me. I'm like, you have to be self-aware. And so a lot of people in my life and like that listen to the podcast and that I work with, they're like over intellectualizers. They know exactly what their patterns are, what their problems are, but they are so scared to like slow down and feel into the emotion. And I think like 2 years ago, I started like intentionally sitting with emotions and like giving it the time and space and just being really mindful. And emotions only live in your body for like 90 seconds. So it feels a lot longer than it is. But I remember the first time I really sat with like insecurity. It's such an uncomfortable emotion that I was like running from constantly. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of feeling like shit. I'm just going to actually like sit and let myself feel it in my body, breathe into it. And I mean, it was terrible for like the 90 seconds that it existed. But after, I felt so much lighter and literally like my body, like I felt the release of the emotion. And so I think it's so important to slow down and like give yourself the time and space to actually feel your feelings. I know that that's been said, like feel your feelings, whatever, but feeling them into your body, like with mindful awareness, like breathing into it, like noticing the sensation and letting it like fully process through you, because otherwise your body is going to like cling on to these experiences. And I know like
in my own experience, I had chronic migraines. I thought I had irritable bowel syndrome. I was literally just like anxious and didn't process my trauma. And so it's so important to like tap into your emotions, let them kind of experience, because otherwise they're going to hold on into like headaches, pain, like lower back pain, like all of this stuff. And so it's so important to work with your body.
I so agree. I love that. And breathe. Honestly, that's why like I got trained in breath work last year and this year I'm doing somatics and I think breathing. We underestimate like yeah, sitting with the feeling and just breathing. And I think even though like you said it's so simple, honestly sitting with you through like you explaining your process and you sitting with your emotions like helped me be like, "Oh, I see how that kind of works now." A little bit more like truly sitting with a feeling and letting it be uncomfortable for a short amount of time.
Yeah, and like not running from it. Like the other day, I was feeling a lot of like collective grief just from like the stuff that's
Mm,
going on in the world.
yeah.
And it was cool. I love how like the universe works because I woke up like early and I did set an alarm and I was like, I really want to go. I go to this like spiritual center by my house that like just like it's so cool. And so I woke up early. I had time to go, so I went there and I sat there. I literally just cried like the entire thing. We were talking about all the stuff that's going on in the world, and I was like, this is so like I was just feeling so much hopelessness and grief. And I was like, you know what? Like this is terrible, and I'm gonna like make a date with my grief. And so I went home and I made some tea, and I was like, what are you trying to teach me? Like it's okay that you're here. Like here's a little mug for you. Like it sounds kind of corny, but like I felt so much better after like actually giving myself the time and space to feel. And then because I did that and I processed it, I that day went to a protest because I was like regulated enough and I was like, now I want to do something about this. Like
I love
now that
that.
I'm over crying, like let's take action. And I don't think I would have gotten to that point and made that decision if I hadn't slowed down and like sat with it first.
Totally. I love that so much because I also think as being a sensitive being, just like people little like we need a little bit more space and time to like process that before diving in. But that is a beautiful, beautiful example. That is like literally perfect. I feel so inspired because yeah, I've been feeling obviously so the same.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I know that like we've bonded over our sensitivity and like just being very emotional people. So I'm curious what helps you kind of navigate the world as a sensitive person.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question, Sydney. I love that. I think expressing is like the number one thing. Like, I think if I weren't expressing, like creating myself, whether that's writing or singing or dancing, I don't think that I would be able to cope with like the existence. So I think expressing and creativity is the biggest thing for me because I think that's how I process a lot of my sensitivity and a lot of my emotion. And yeah, even, um, with like the fear and anxiety I was speaking of earlier, with like being alone and like having the next couple weeks like to myself and being in
Hmm.
my own space, I am so excited because I feel like when I'm alone, like I always am writing music. I'm always like
Hmm.
dancing around and just like, I don't know, just being myself in my space and I can do that with my partners here, but it's just different when you're alone. So I'm really excited because I think, yeah, especially with collective grief, especially and like things that we truly can't fully go in and like excavate and control and fix,
Yep.
like there has to be some sort of like creative expression to process all of it. And
Hmm.
even, if I'm feeling things around my relationship or, yeah, feeling just I don't know, any emotion, even
Hmm.
like love or lust or whatever it is, like I
Hmm.
genuinely feel like expressing and creativity is what helps me more than literally anything. Yeah, because it also puts me in flow state and allows me to be really present and not so much in my head over intellectualizing. So that's the number one thing that is coming through right now as the most important thing for
Yeah.
sure.
And what I'm thinking too is like when you express yourself literally in any medium, that also is like a bridge to connection over whatever emotion it is that you were, expressing from. So if you write something and someone reads it and they're like, oh my gosh, I was feeling the same thing, or like podcasting is a huge thing for me to do to like process and talk and express
Same.
and like connecting with people over something Like if I'm thinking about feeling emotions intensely as like this terrible thing, like I wouldn't have these deep moments of connection if I didn't have the emotions that led to the expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's cool to think
Yes.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And then also like water, like getting in a body of water is huge for me. I just feel like
Mhm.
emotion, sensitivity, it's like the water element. It's, the Piscean parts of myself. Like I have a
Mhm.
Mercury in Pisces and I have a Scorpio rising and I have these very watery parts of myself that yeah, for me personally, I feel like I like to go and get in the river, in the ocean, or dunk my face in an ice bath, or cry, or I don't know, incorporating the water element, taking a shower. It's always been a really big practice for me, especially as a sensitive person, like absorbing a lot of people's energy. If I go out to the club or something, like I'm like
Mhm.
shower, 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 shower. I'm taking
Yes,
like
like
5
cleanse it
showers the next
off.
day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I think for me personally, I love to use the elements in general. And for me, water has always like called me. But that's why also some people love to smudge and use like smoke and fire, and that element is incredibly powerful, and candles and yeah, I think there is a lot of way we can use the different elements, but I would say anything around water really connects to sensitivity and emotion, so it's a really powerful way to connect to those parts of yourself.
Yeah, I've never thought about like water connecting to sensitivity because I've always
Mm.
been like a literal mermaid. Like since I was a kid, my parents used to be like,
Yeah.
"It's time to go in," and I would duck under the water to pretend to not hear them. Like, and I went to Hawaii for the first time this year, and I'm surprised I got on my flight back because 2 beaches a day, like it
So
was just like so
yeah.
connected to the water. And I'm just now like
Mhm.
because you said that, I'm like, wow, it's like the sensitivity aspect is like
Mhm.
emotions are represented by water, and so it's like no wonder
Of
why
course.
I'm like the biggest bath
Yeah.
taker of all time too. So it's
Literally, these
interesting.
bath
Yeah.
showers, it is so
Mhm.
interesting, and I think, honestly, when we go back to some of the most, like, ancient, like, spiritual interpretations and religions and practices, like, they're so rooted in the elements, whether that are literal gods being based off the elements. For example, here in Hawaii, we have Pele, the volcano goddess, we have is her name Haumea, which is like the earth goddess, like ancient indigenous cultures specifically, but also when we look back on, I'm pretty sure like paganism and even like certain like interpretations of like the Greek gods, like they connect to different like elements. So I think naturally, yeah, when we're looking to work with ourselves, I've been really noticing like elements are a portal. That's why we love to burn, a note letting things go on a ceremony. Like these are ingrained systems, ancestral systems that we
Yep.
know. Like everything
Mhm.
can change, but the elements are still here and they're very loud and they're very powerful and we're not separate from them. So for me, I think sometimes they really help me connect to my spiritual practice and also to myself because I'm like, oh, like I can do something to connect to an element and it's kind of like a
Mhm.
portal, a
Yeah.
ritual, and for me, it feels really good. And yeah, water is huge with like sensitivity, of course, and emotions and creativity. Creativity too.
Yeah. Well, and as you're saying that, I'm also thinking about like the importance of nature when it comes to like your healing journey and mental health, and like we I think of everything as like we are also connected, and so like we are connected to the nature on our planet, and like getting out and seeing it and like literally touching grass, hugging a tree, like swimming in the ocean, like all of these things like help us come back to ourselves. And I liked what you said too, it's like this ancestral, like people have done this before us, like a long time before us, and it's like getting back to how I think humans are supposed to live and like supposed to be, instead of this like rat race, concrete jungle kind of vibe. It's like, let's actually just go like be outside and like take a deep breath and jump in the lake. You know what I mean? Like there's so much
Mhm.
healing in that. But I think in our current capitalistic society, it's not valued. And it's like,
Yeah.
that feels like a waste of time when it's like that is getting you back to yourself and also just very
Mhm.
enjoyable. So
Yeah, I think like nature is definitely a gateway to connecting to yourself and connecting to something greater than yourself. Cause yeah, I think that was like my OG like spirituality. It was like my connection to the land through growing here up here like in Hawaii. Like it taught me, that everything is so sacred, and nature is like the gateway, I think, because yeah, it just allows you to be so present. It asks nothing of you. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if it doesn't care if the weather's good. Like, it's just gonna do its thing. Like, it's just gonna exist, and it has a lot to teach us. And yeah, that's why I feel like I'm also just like so passionate about like protecting it in every way, because it's just like literally gives so much to us and teaches us so much. Like, one time I like saw this like over 800-year old tree in Canada, and I like sobbed my eyes out, and I was like, God is real. Like, I was just like, this is crazy. I was like feeling the presence of this 800-year-old tree.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say something similar too, but like with mountains. Like mountains have been
Mm.
here for so long and they're so big and I just love being near something so vast like that in nature and
Mm.
being like, oh my God, I am like my issues, my problems are so insignificant. Like think about that 800-year-old tree. Like how much has that tree seen? Sometimes me and my friends were walking around, we're like, what do you have to tell us? We like talk to the trees and stuff because it's like
No, so real.
they've been here for so long and it's seeing something like that really puts things into perspective. If you're
Mm.
like harboring in on your life and your problems and like whatever, it's like go outside and like look at something that's been here for like centuries and be like, okay, wait, like that was here before me and it's gonna be here after me. Like it just
Yeah.
changes your perspective. Yeah.
The macrocosm versus the microcosm. You're like, oh, we're so
Hmm.
small. It's all good. Oh, I love that. I love the way that went with the elements and everything. I
Uh-huh.
love talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I'm so glad we got into like the spiritual nature ritual. I just love that stuff so much. So,
Yes.
the last topic I want to talk about before we check out is you are someone that I feel like you try and you are seen trying. And so a
Mhm.
lot of people have this, a
True.
lot of people have this fear of like, I need to be perfect before I do something. And
Mhm.
I guess I'm just curious how you kind of got over that fear of like trying something new and like letting yourself be seen and
Ugh.
visible, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people struggle with, myself included.
So real. I'm just laughing because it's so funny, because I like totally think it's so true. Like, I am seen trying, but I don't know why that's cracking me up right now. I think it's because like I got used to like embarrassing myself. Like, I literally, my boyfriend will say this to me, like he'll repeat back to me my quotes, and it's like annoying. Like, he repeats back to me what I say all the time. He's like, this really smart girl once told me, like, if I'm feeling like really cringe or nervous, he's like, this really smart girl once told me,
Wait,
like,
my friends do that to me too.
right? They're like, once a day, you need to embarrass yourself. And that's something like I literally say to myself, my partner,
Hmm.
my friends, because it is so true. It is just like creating a callus and creating a protection to like being like, okay, like it doesn't, you know, do do people think I'm like cringe? Like, sure. I don't, but lots of people also think I'm kind of cool, which also is so funny to me, because I'm like, yeah, when people meet me, like in real life from the podcast, like, sometimes they'll be like, oh, like I'm nervous, or like I was like, didn't know how you'd be in real life. And I'm like, I'm just such a dork. Like, I'm so silly. I'm such a dork. Like, I am like just such a goober, like in my energy
Hmm.
IRL. And I just think for me, like being silly and taking life not so seriously has taught me to just like go for things and not overthink it. Cause trust me, if I overthink it,
Hmm.
that's why I love having an editor edit my podcast. Cause in the past, when I would edit it, of course I would sit there and be like criticizing myself. That looks dumb.
Hmm.
Why did I say that? Why is my face looking like that? I will
Hmm.
like get in that mode, but it's like I just don't let myself stay there, because for me, like I can get into ruminating and I know
Hmm.
myself. So for me, it's just like I don't even really let myself like divulge into that and go there. I just kind of try to like keep it silly as spiritual, like keep it
Hmm.
light in
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
ways.
Hmm.
Like, life is so deep, life is so serious, and the world that we're creating is so fucking important and sacred and serious, and I have that strong
Hmm.
belief. And then I think about my own life, and I'm like, it also is so beautiful and serious what I create, but also it's like so not that serious and so not
Uh-huh.
that deep, and it's so
Hmm.
unserious at the same time. And I just like
Hmm.
holding that belief system for me, and like
Hmm.
being really silly and not taking life so seriously and training my brain to be that way is like the
Hmm.
only way that I feel like I can be seen trying, or else like I would be stressing out because like I
Mhm.
also have inner judgment and self-judgment.
Mhm.
I'm just not really giving her the time of day. Like, and you know, for me, I just really like notice. I'm like, is this like really real? This random thought that I'm feeling of this insecurity. And sometimes it is. Sometimes we psychically pick up on people judging us. Sometimes we do psychically pick up on people noticing that we're cringe, or you have a feeling that somebody's talking about you behind your back. And it's like, I'm not going to say you're crazy. Like, we do have psychic intuitive senses where we can pick up on people in our energy. But for me, I'm just like, any energy anybody sends my way, like whether they're judgy or whether it's good or admiration, like everything transforms into abundance for me. Like I am the alchemist. Anything that comes my way, I transform it into the utmost abundance for myself. So I'm not scared of a little bit of judgment here and there. I just feel like for me at this point, even if, you know, I'm not where I wanna be, but even if, like, everything fell away tomorrow, I still feel like I reached, like, success for what I wanted to do. It's nowhere close to, like, the big dreams and goals that I
Mhm.
have that I know are coming, but I do feel like I've done good. So I feel like that's also a part of me that's just like, people judged until you're successful,
Yeah.
and then they ask how you do it. "How did you do it? Give
Mhm.
me the advice." And I've had that moment, you know, in the past couple years, I've had those moments of people that used to judge me coming back from
Mhm.
high school, whatever, and being like, "Oh, like, I wanna can you help me with this?" or blah, 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 and I'm just like, eventually you become the expert because you were willing to try, and then
Mhm.
everyone's like wants something from you. And that's kind of
Mhm.
like, sometimes I feel like that's the side I'm on a little bit, like people wanting things from you. So just like being mindful in that as well, but also being like giving and no gatekeeping and always giving advice, finding the
Mhm.
balance. But that was a long-winded answer.
No, I
Sorry.
loved it. You cooked. You cooked. That was great. I was like,
That was the
yes,
finale.
yes. Yeah, literally. No,
That
but
was
I
grand
think
finale.
there was when you were talking about like being silly and not letting your like critical side kind of like take the reins. It's like in doing that and letting things not be serious and being goofy in yourself, you're giving yourself that freedom to express yourself and like be authentic and just like be who you are. And something that came up, I had a patient one time tell me, for people that are listening that don't know, I work as a pediatric psych nurse. So I work with like teenagers. I had a patient one time tell me, she's like, to be cringe is to be free. And I'm like, that is right. I literally think about that all the time. Anytime I'm like, oh, is this cringy? Like, should I post this? Should I do this? I'm like, am I free? Like this, yeah. So it just, I don't know, it shuts down that whole
Exactly. To be
narrative.
cringe is to be free.
Hmm.
And success really does come from it, I've learned. So that's why it doesn't
Yeah.
also scare me, because I'm like, yeah, I used to post the cringiest fucking stuff.
I
So
look
I'm
back on
like,
my old videos and I'm like, oh my God. But you know
I'm
what?
like,
That had
this
to
is how you
happen to be
regulate
here.
your nervous system. No, and I still would do it. I still
Yeah,
would do a little
literally.
dance. I would still do a
Hmm.
little dance and a little advice. Like, I just giggle at those videos. They're so funny.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's transition to our checkout. I'm so happy that we had this conversation recorded because I
Check
just,
out. I love it.
yeah. Okay. So these are questions I ask all my guests. What is
Okay.
something that people often get wrong about you?
Hmm. I mean, I guess like what you said is kind of good, that they thought I like um grew up in the beliefs that I did, rather than I developed them on my own through my own like discernment of the way that I've seen the world at an older age. So that's something that people do assume about me that I'm like proud of, because I'm just
Yeah,
like,
I would be too.
yeah, I also feel like people like assume because I'm such like a fairy girly, unless they listen to my podcast and know I'm a girl with anger issues. Like I think if you somebody sees me on Instagram, like they would be like, "Oh, she's so sweet." Like she's so sweet. Like, and I am so sweet. Like I am genuinely like so kind and like so giving, and I know that about myself. And I'm so real. And I also call it like I see it, and I can be the greatest fucking bitch in the whole world. So I think that's something people get wrong about me, is they're like, "Oh, she's just so sweet. Like just a little fairy girl, like so romanticize your life, so ethereal." I'm like, "Babe, it's a brand. Like it's a brand. Like I'm a bitch." Like,
Oh man, that is
okay.
good. That is good. No, but I honestly, if I didn't listen to your podcast, I would have no idea. Because like you don't come off that
Yeah.
way. But
Yeah,
it's
and
like you
even
have
my
this inner
podcast, like
fire.
only people that know, like, yeah,
Yeah,
that know.
yeah. I love that. That's a great answer.
Uh,
What is something that you wish you could tell your younger self?
hmm. So many things. I guess that she's just dope. Like, she's my inspo. She's who I live for. And to just keep singing and dancing. That's all she needs to do.
Mm.
It's
Oh,
just doing
I
her
love
thing.
that. That's so like simple. I feel like a lot of times when
Yeah.
I ask people this question, it's like this philosophical, but like just keep
Yeah.
singing and dancing. I love that. I
I
love
pulled
that.
this card the other day because I was like, wait, what direction am I going in? And the card, literally, the feedback from the Oracle card from the question, what direction should I be going in? Give me clarity, is what I was saying. It came out and it was like, you don't have to have this complicated like plan, like you know what you want to do. Like just as simple as I want to sing, I want to help people. Like sometimes that is enough to be like, okay, I'm back in my power. Like I'm not lacking clarity. I do know what I want to do. And that's how I feel with my
Hmm.
little inner girl is I'm like, it's simple, girl. Just keep singing, just keep dancing. Like that's all you need to
Yep.
know.
I love that. Oh my gosh. If you could make a law that everyone has to follow, what would it be and why?
Oh my God, this is such a crazy question. I mean, if I could create a law, I would say that like once people become billionaires, they have to give the rest of their money away to everybody in the lowest 20% tax bracket. Is that a crazy law?
No,
I'm
I
like,
think that's like
that's my real
normal.
law. That's my
Yeah.
real law because I'm just like,
Redistribute the wealth.
I'm like, redistribute the wealth. Like, we shouldn't be having all these issues in our education system. Kids should not be
Hmm.
having like no lunches at school. Like, this is fucking
Hmm.
crazy. Like, as well as the many other issues. Like, this is
Hmm.
crazy. Redistribute the wealth. You don't need that all, you freak.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
that's my
true.
letter to the billionaires. Y'all don't need all that.
Yeah.
You're weird for that.
Yeah. No, seriously. Greed is a disease.
Literally.
Okay. Best mental health advice you have.
Best mental health advice is to know yourself is to love yourself. And I'll say it again, to know yourself is to love yourself. Because by having a relationship with yourself, like it's like no matter what you go through, you're there. You got yourself. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. And the last piece is plug yourself. How can we support you?
Yes. Well, you can follow me on YouTube because I'm just starting YouTube in the last 3-4 months. So that's exciting. I'm growing that
Mm,
platform. You can follow me, Kela Rose, Kela space Rose, Rose, on YouTube. But it's the same thing as Skinny Dipping, my podcast that you can listen to on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But I love YouTube right now because people are so interactive. Like I
they
get so many
are.
comments. I'm like, wait, I
Yeah.
love you guys. Like I love when people are interactive on Spotify too. Like so grateful.
Hmm.
But I don't know. People just happen to be really interactive on YouTube. So follow me there. Follow Skinny Dipping the podcast on all platforms. And then I'm at Sundays KK on Instagram, on TikTok, at Skinny Dipping Diaries for the podcast. And yeah, I think that's kind
Cool.
of it. Yeah.
Great. Okay. I'll link everything in the show notes so people can easily click on everything. And Kayla, thank you so, so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
I loved being able to
Thank you so
connect with
much.
you and chat. And side note, I'm so grateful that I did your podcast camp because my podcast has changed like so much from that. That was the first time I ever actually like invested in my like business, my
Yeah.
passions, and like so much has happened from that. And so I just really want to say thank you in a bit. Are you still doing podcast camp?
I want to revamp it. I honestly like felt like I was like, ugh, like because I also now I've been practicing YouTube. I'll tell you about it in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I basically like with under 10K followers have had like 5 YouTube videos like blow up over 10K. Like, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just kind of cracking more code. So I just feel like I
Uh-huh.
need to like remake it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to do it again though, but I just feel like everything is so constantly changing and shifting in every social
Mm-hmm.
media space that
Mm-hmm.
what it was 2 years ago can't be now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do wanna
Yeah.
bring it back, but I did love it so much, and I did feel like it just helped so many people, and I just
Mm-hmm.
really wanna bring it back. So thank you for saying that because that does give me, like, motivation to bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody
Thank
listening, and
you.
you can support Kayla with the links in the show notes. Bye.
Bye.